All right, we're good to go now. So let me repeat that. Why do you want to work for our company?
Well, I've worked with the Standard Examiner on and off over the years with my business. Found the service that I received to be very professional and lucrative. I think it's a wonderful organization that provides the community with a vital service, and I think it would be exciting and something new, and feel I'd be very good in any capacity there where sales is concerned and customer service.
Okay. So what do you look for in a job, and how do you determine which opportunity is best for you?
First of all, I look at the organization and what their culture is, what their values are, what type of service they're providing and to whom. And internally, I appreciate support from my superiors. That would include clear expectations and training, and perhaps the opportunity to advance with the organization. And just really to look at, what's going to make me happy, because if I'm happy with what I'm doing, I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to be at my best. And just matching up my skills and knowing that I can go in and do a very good job for my employer.
Okay. So what does an advertising salesperson have to be good at in order to succeed?
Well, number one, I think dealing with people. Being able to, determine what their needs are, being able to, in a time-effective manner, provide those needs, and then excellent follow-up and customer service.
Okay.
Product knowledge is definitely key, but for me, that's a given. If I have the knowledge and I'm ready to go, it's just providing the very best service possible and helping that customer to be successful.
All right. What makes people want to do business with you?
Well, from past experience, the feedback that I've received is that I care about them, that I'm fully invested in the product or service that I'm offering, and they just like me as an individual. They see my work ethic and appreciate the job that I've done for them.
Okay. What do you think of the business outlook over the next year or two?
Well, it's rapidly changing, that's for sure, especially, in your medium. But I think that knowing the social media arena and all of the different, for this particular example, the digital marketing opportunities, there's definitely competition out there, so you have to set yourself apart. But I think that businesses are thriving, and there's some struggling, but there's certainly, I think, an opportunity for the Standard Examiner in their program to go out and have a good market reach and be competitive.
Okay. Do people have a right to their own opinions?
Absolutely.
Okay. If a person disagrees with you, do you have a right to change their opinion?
No. However, depending upon the circumstances, will certainly voice my feelings and why I feel the way I do. But I respect others for their opinion, and I don't feel that you can convince someone to look at something otherwise. You can present a case, and perhaps they'll say, oh, well, I didn't think of that, or that's something to consider. But you can't force someone to look at things your way.
Okay. How often do people tell you that you're too intense?
Not very often. I mean, I've had a lot of positions where I have a ton of responsibility and things that are very time sensitive. And if I have a ton on my plate and I'm multitasking like crazy and dealing with problems as they come up, I can appear to be a little intense in energy, but I balance that out and get the job done, and people seem to, you know, work well with me, and I them.
Okay. To what degree do you strive to be the best at what you do?
Well, I always shoot for 100%. Anything that I go after, I do it with everything I have, and sometimes I don't get to 100%. That used to really challenge me and as a person, but I understand that sometimes things, you know, come into play that you can't control, but I always do my very best. I have a great work ethic, and it's important for me to do the very best I can for my employer.
Okay. So tell me about some times when your efforts have really paid off then.
Well, when I was working for the United Way, there's just so many examples. I was running the entire fundraising campaign for Davis County. And I was hired prior to 9/11. And I had the event planned out, and when 9/11 happened, I had a day and a half to restructure the entire event because, you know, out of respect for what had happened. And I stayed up all night and changed music arrangements, decorations, speakers, and ended up having a very patriotic and heartwarming event. I can share other examples if you'd like.
No, that's good.
Okay.
How do you feel when a job is unfinished?
I don't like it. It's just not acceptable. And if I have to put something aside because there's something that needs my attention more immediately, I can do that, but I always need to go back and finish the other task.
Okay. Tell me about the best sell you ever made.
Wow. Well, I owned my own business, and I had a lot of successes there. However, I'm going to go back to United Way. It wasn't a quote-unquote sell. However, I was able to bring 150 new companies on board to participate in employee contribution to the campaign, and I also cultivated 7 new independent donors within the community that did a lot of philanthropic work. And I was very proud of that because it helped increase donations by 20%.
Okay. How do you react to unexpected situations?
Again, it depends on what's happening, but if even in the moment it kind of, grabs me and perhaps someone sees some type of an emotion, I'm able to calm myself very quickly and assess the situation and, just move forward to resolve or handle whatever's come my way.
Okay. How much do you like convincing people to do what you want them to do?
Again, as far as sales is concerned, I have a lot of sales experience. And I know that somewhere in that process, you ask for the sell. And, I know all the different sales tactics and approaches. If someone is not willing or able at that time to commit, I just let them know, keep us in mind. I'll be back in touch with you. I'll send you more information about the products we've discussed and how can it benefit your business. But as far as coming down to high pressure sales, I won't do it.
Okay. How much can you tell about how someone else feels if they don't tell you?
I'm pretty good at reading people, and in fact, I feel sometimes I'm a little too empathic because I like people so much, and I can feel their feelings, I can see their emotions a lot of the time. So I think I'm good at reading body language and such.
Okay.
Or if someone wants to say yes, but they're, afraid of committing, that type of thing.
Okay. How hard do you like to work?
Well, I worked a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, a couple of positions where I was an independent contractor. So whatever effort I put into it is what I was going to get out of it. And I owned my own business for 10 years, and you have to work 7 days a week, sometimes at all hours of the day into the evening. And so I'm not afraid of hard work, and I think that's part of the whole process. Why go into something and not put out your best effort?
So at what age did you have your first responsible job?
Well, I started working at 16, and while it wasn't a serious job, I took it as a responsible position.
Good deal. Do you learn things rapidly?
I do. I'm more of a hands-on learner, and to sit down and study a book, I can get, the gist of things. Takes me a little bit longer, but once I know something, then I can pick up other concepts that tie into that very quickly. But I'm more hands-on.
Okay. So what are some of the things that you have or you do learn quickly?
Well, again, with United Way and with my business, I had not worked in nonprofit before. I had not owned a business before, and I had to quickly learn the industry, how those different positions work, reading reports, being able to report to the board of directors, tracking the donations as they come in, and on my business side, there were industry, protocol that needed to be followed, and just learning about the different pieces of equipment and things like that.
Okay. Is it easy for you to give orders to people?
Yes, but I'm not. And let me just go back and say one more thing. I also have taught myself a lot of different social media types of advertising through my business. So that's something that I had to do, website, keeping it up, email marketing, Twitter, text messaging, and those types of things. But anyway, going back to your other question, and could you repeat that, please?
Is it easy for you to give orders to people?
Oh. I like to look at it more as directing and coaching. If I've given someone all the tools they need to do their job and they're struggling, I will coach them. I will figure out, what they're missing and give that to them and help them move along so that they can be successful. If I need something done, I don't have a problem with, giving someone instructions and having them take care of that for me.
Okay. Would you describe yourself as a highly organized person?
Very.
That's
well, again, when you're doing when you have to look at so many different aspects of a position, you have to be able to multitask effectively and make sure that you're getting things done in a time-sensitive manner. And so, I have my own system of how I organize things and how I approach tasks. again, being able to look at what's most important, and I've done that throughout my whole career, is, you know, staying very organized and being able to be effective.
Okay. So tell me about a time in your current job where you demonstrated marketing expertise.
Well, I sold my business in May, and I've taken some time off just to spend with family and so forth. So I'll have to refer to that.
That works,
but,
yeah.
Okay. I tried a lot of different avenues for advertising, and I created an internal referral program, and it was very successful in bringing in new customers while rewarding my current customers. And I really think out of all the other things I was doing, the text messaging and the email blasts and things like that, that referral program really worked well for me and was very successful.
That's awesome. How much do you want others to like you?
Well, I think we all want people to like us, but it's not crucial to me. Most people do like me, and I know that when you're in interviews, you just have to, you have to go for it. There are some people that haven't liked me in the past, but I'm able to still work with them professionally. And I just try to treat people with respect and, being open and appreciating the positive sides of them. And I hope that people do that for me, but it isn't paramount that people like me to the point to where I'm going to change who I am.
Okay. How effective are you at resolving conflicts?
I've never had a problem with it. Through my business, being a business owner, you have conflict with customers sometimes, and obviously with employees. Even some of my people that I did business with, there would be conflict. And I'm just very upfront in a very polite, respectful way and state, what I see the issue as and want to hear the other person's feelings about it, and then negotiate some kind of an agreement or understanding to resolve the issue. And sometimes you have to become kind of firm and set in what you believe to be the truth or what's going to, be best for your business or your product or whatever. But I seem to be able to do that quite well.
Okay. When you've had a success, what do you do?
Celebrate. It just makes me feel, it just confirms that the effort and, the work ethic and the accomplishment that I'm trying to reach for my customer and my employer and myself has been successful, and I feel a sense of pride about that, and I just feel happy, feel accomplished.
So how do you feel when you make a mistake?
Don't like it, and it used to be I really had to fight with this sense of being a perfectionist, and through growth I've realized that that's not, perfectionism doesn't exist, and I just recognize the mistake I've made and rectify it the best way I possibly can.
Do you have a passion for sales? Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Do I have a passion for sales?
Mm-hmm.
I do. Early on, many years ago, that was the path that I took because I am good with people. I like being out and about. I'm very results oriented. So if I have a new customer or a customer that's been, I've been serving for a long time, I always try to find new avenues, and I just enjoy the challenge of it. I went to school, my degree's in communications and public relations. I didn't go into sales, but, I think they cross over in every way, and I really do enjoy sales.
Okay. How do you measure your success?
Well, it depends on if it's a project or, the completion of a project with a good result. If it's numbers that I'm trying to reach, a quota, if I get that quota, I can measure that way. I can't think of any other examples right now, I'm sorry.
Okay. How important is it to play it safe when you're dealing with clients or prospects?
I don't think playing it safe is the way that I would approach it. I think I'd go in with gusto. Again, keeping in mind what it is that their needs are. If I'm trying to give them something they don't need or can't really use, that's not going to benefit anyone. But I'll go in with everything I have and teach them, guide them, make suggestions, show them how this product can work for them. And I don't think playing it safe has ever been anything I've done.
Okay. Do you prefer to reuse an idea you've seen work before, or would you rather build a proposal around a new idea?
I don't see any problem with using an idea that someone else has had or used that's been successful, but I also like creating, and so I'm always looking at something and thinking of ways to improve it or add on to it.
Okay. Do you love a good debate?
It can be fun. If both people are being sincere and, polite, say, I don't mind a little bit of heat as long as it's, people are being open-minded. I like it. It can be challenging and fun. Again, it depends on the environment.
Right. So how often do you find yourself noticing advertisements?
In my business, I was looking at my competitors and different options and ways to advertise all the time. Haven't done much of it lately, but in the past, depending upon, the job, I was aware of what the competition was doing.
Okay. Well, have you noticed any advertisements in the last couple of days? Whether it be TV, radio, billboard, whatever.
Well, gosh, you're going to get me on this one. I have, but something's just not coming to mind.
Okay. No worries.
Sorry. I mean, well, I did see a new product out for men that has, with detergent and fabric softener, that has a male scent to it, which I thought was a great idea.
So what do you think they're trying to accomplish with that ad?
Well, I think these companies are constantly having to find new ways to reach their audience and get them to respond and purchase their product over someone else. And they have to expand, constantly expanding their markets. And women are always the target, it seems like. And I think it was very innovative to give men a product that they can use that doesn't smell like flowers or lavender. And I think they're going to be very successful with it. And the bottling was even very, attractive and masculine.
Okay. Tell me about some of the ways you've been involved in the community.
Well, with United Way, I was completely entrenched in the community and, knew all of my nonprofits that we were raising funds for, and I knew, what they were doing in the community. I met people that were receiving the benefit of our donations. In my business, I did a giving tree every year for YCC and other fundraisers for them, where everything I sold in my business, they would get a percentage of. But the giving tree was extremely successful, and we would provide gifts for over 45 children every Christmas. Currently, I'm doing volunteer work at the homeless shelter, and I just believe that's one of the things that I look for in an employer is how supportive are they of their community. I think that giving back is very important.
Okay. Do you have a sixth sense for knowing how to make another person feel good?
I think so.
Tell me why you think that.
Well, again, it's something that comes from me. I have a genuine concern for people in general, and I love meeting people and getting to know them and what makes them tick. And I think that being as attentive and not being distracted and being kind and being interested are things that I portray to people, and they respond to that. And it's genuine. It's not fake.
Okay. So this may or may not, try and take this question and form it with your last or even before that, any of your other positions, because it's just kind of a different question.
Okay.
So compared to other salespeople in your company, your clients get a better return on investments from the solutions you sell.
I believe so. When I was working for American Advertising, which is similar to Valpak, and that's been quite some time ago, they had a lot of other ways that they advertised, and this was not the best looking medium. It was just two color, or I should say one color. But coming up with creative ways to market their product through that medium, they were getting a great return and a great result. And in my business, I think that, looking at my competitors, from the ambiance that I created to the great customer service to the way that I marketed my products versus my competitors, my business was very successful. And that's so that I was approached by a national chain to buy me out.
Nice. This one made me think a little bit too, just because it's kind of a different one.
Okay.
So tell me about a sell you finally made that took a long time to develop, and then take me through it step by step.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Well, this was not a quote-unquote sell, but when I was out marketing United Way and what their purpose plays in the community, there was one corporation out at Freeport Center that was huge. And for some reason, they would not participate in a United Way community giving campaign. And it took a lot of, first of all, getting past the gatekeepers to the decision makers and meeting with them on 3 to 4 occasions to finally get them to, get the vision, get excited about the vision, and understand how much significance they could provide to those in need in the community by allowing their employees to make the choice to give or not.
Okay.
And I felt great satisfaction over that. I mean, I've sold pre-need funeral plans and cemetery property and print media, and I always feel a great success, but that one was really poignant to me because it really did make a huge difference in the campaign, and it took a lot of effort to negotiate and work with them to get them to come around to running a campaign.
Okay.
You know, and through that process, I showed them, you know, the different agencies, what they do in the community, where the funds lie, how much, you know, an estimate of what their company could give back to the community if, you know, all of their employees gave X amount of dollars. So I don't know how much detail you wanted me to give there, but.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
So what short-term goal, and think of any short-term goal that you actually have right now, what short-term goal do you feel you will most likely achieve, and when do you think you will achieve it?
Well, I have a lot of goals right now. Well, this is a funny one. I'm all of a sudden having all of these computer and phone and internet issues, and I just had to get a new printer. And so a very, very short-term goal is to get all my, you know, my laptop and my printer and everything working well again. I have some financial goals that I have that I'm working on, and I also need to get some repairs on my car, and I've got some goals to get that done. So my biggest goal right now is to start working again. I miss working, and that is my first and foremost goal, is to find a great employer that I can do my very best at, you know, providing them what they need and just moving on with life. You know, you always think, oh, I can't wait to retire. But when you find that you have a lot of time on your hands, it's just not me. So.
Okay. So, are you quick to form opinions?
Am I what?
Quick to form opinions.
I used to be, in my younger years, opinionated, and I really don't look at life like that anymore. I do form opinions after I've looked at a situation, but I will not form one until I have all the information.
Okay. Are you addicted to a positive attitude?
Absolutely. If you, in my opinion and with the experiences I've had in my life, you have to approach life with gratitude and positivity so that you can leave your energy open to possibilities. And if you're always unhappy and you just become closed off, that's the way I view it anyway. So I think being positive is very important.
Okay. Would you say you're more organized at work or at home?
Both. People kind of make fun of me because it's funny, I have a little bit of sloppiness in a couple of areas. Like if you open some drawers, they may not look the best, but at home and at work, I need to be organized or I feel kind of frazzled. So organization is important. And it's an ongoing process.
Have you ever taken something small and made it big?
Sure.
Tell me about it.
I could give you a lot of work examples, but I'm going to give you a personal one.
Okay.
I bought a home 9 years ago, and I love to garden and be outdoors, and the yard was just an absolute mess. And I literally pulled up trees by myself, replanted some of them, just really, bottom line, transformed the entire backyard. And when people come over, they feel like they're in their grandmother's backyard, or they feel like they're just in this beautiful garden. And I literally took that thing from nothing and made it into a beautiful garden.
Awesome. Do you always set goals much higher than those of other people?
I don't know if I can answer that and say yes, but I don't want to use the word hard on myself, but I have a lot of expectations of myself. So when I set goals also that I know are realistic. I know that there's some things that, depending upon the circumstances, I may not be able to achieve. So I set realistic goals, but I set goals. I think that's the important thing.
Right. So give me an example of one of the goals. And again, you may not consider it a high goal, but in your head, one of the goals that you set and then achieved.
Well, in my business, when 2005 hit, things changed for a lot of people, or not 2005, 2010, and, I had a goal to get myself back on track and, turn things around. And so with my marketing strategies and working on getting new customers in, I increased my business that year 10%. And then, kind of kept it between 10 and 12% all the years after that. So that was a business goal that I reached.
Okay. So think about a marketing book you have read recently or a marketing blog you read regularly. Tell me some things you've learned recently from those sources.
Well, I haven't done much since I sold my business. I just really needed a break. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I've been looking at lately are sales strategies and, what is the driving force out there today. And the article that I've been looking at is saying that cold calling is dead and that there are other ways to create new business without spending a tremendous amount of time and energy out cold calling. And, we all know that time is money. And so I've been looking at some of the concepts there. Excuse me.
Okay. So this one, too, just may take you back a while. You may have something right off the top of your head, but think of your biggest client, whoever that may be. Once you have them in mind, what was their most important need, and what did you do to help them solve it?
Wow, I'm trying to... That's a tough one for me. A lot of my clients were independent individuals or, smaller organizations. With United Way, I had, I guess you could call them clients. Well, I'll use this as an example. My board of directors, I had to answer to them with numbers and, why are we not accomplishing this versus, this goal versus we should be looking over here. And I put together a proposal and, after interviewing all of them and looking at, United Way moving forward for the next year and how to reach those goals. And I presented that proposal, and they adopted quite a few of the suggestions that I made, which helped it streamline some of the processes for the next year to where we could be more effective.
Okay. So you're riding on an airplane hoping to get some sleep. In the row in front of you, a baby has been crying for the last 10 minutes. What are you thinking?
I'm feeling bad for the mother or the father, because it's, you know, it's so stressful because you're worried about your child, you're worried about other people and what they're going to think, and that probably makes the baby cry even more because you're stressed. And so I think first and foremost I would think of them and how they're doing, and maybe even offer to hold the baby if she needed to go get a bottle or something. But, and I would feel some frustration also. It's like, man, I need to get some sleep. This isn't, you know, why can't I move?
So what are your sources of business news? And then how often do you check that, read it, watch it?
Oh, this is probably going to be one of my, maybe not be very impressive, but honestly, I have stopped watching the news as much as I used to on television because of different reasons. I go online and will read the Standard, but I don't take the paper. And then I'll read like Time magazine and, you know, publications such as that, or books.
Okay. So how do you feel when your coworkers do nothing but gripe?
I don't like it. And I just think it creates a negative environment for everyone. And it also is not going to benefit them. So if I can ignore it, I do. But my personality would be to maybe approach them and ask them, you know, if they have something going on in their lives, and you know, this is what you're bringing into your work environment, and help if I could. But I think at some point I would address the issue.
Okay. So how do you feel when you're not in charge?
Well, I've been in charge for so long, I really don't know how to answer that. I take direction well, and I respect my superiors. So it isn't like if I was in that position that I would constantly be thinking, oh, I could do that better, or, you know, I don't like people telling me what to do. But I do like being my own boss. I'm self-motivated and, you know, results-driven, and I know I can see what it is that I want to do and how to accomplish that, and I like to just go for it. But I can do either.
What would you say are some of the biggest changes taking place in advertising and marketing these days?
Well, I think that, one, people are feeling absolutely and utterly bombarded, and in some ways they're shutting down, they're shutting it off. And I think also the way things were done in the past just are almost non-existent. And so keeping up on the latest and most creative and innovative ways to get in front of people, and then approaching it with intelligence and humor. I think those are things that people can respond to, and a good way to get your message across. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Are you ever negative or upset with yourself?
Oh, yes. I think most people are, and but I know when I start feeling that way or, negative self-talking, I just stop and ask myself, what is it you're really upset about and what can you do about it? So, yeah, I sometimes get down on myself.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Would you say you're a plan it, rehearse it kind of person, or are you more of a spontaneous, take it as it comes kind of person?
Well, I like to plan and have a basic guideline, but I also really like a fluid type of situation, conversation. So I marry the two.
So how do you solve problems?
Well, I look at what the problem is, perhaps why it's became an issue, and who or what is involved in that issue, and then going to the source or coming up with solutions and presenting them, but making sure that the problem gets solved.
Okay.
For the benefit of everyone.
Okay. Do you usually control the conversation, or do you let the other person control the conversation?
Well, it depends. If it's me and a friend and they've got a problem, I let them control it. If it's in a work situation, I need to get to what their needs are and what their feelings are about something, what they want to accomplish, but then I have to control the conversation.
Okay. So do you prefer to work autonomously or be engaged with team members, and why?
Well, I really enjoy working autonomously. That's just the way my life has worked out. And as I mentioned earlier, if I have guidelines or policies and procedures, I take those and then I look at what it is I need to accomplish. And I'm able to, be creative and come up with an organized strategy and then go out and make it happen. But I also enjoy, and I have found this to be so at this point in my life, that I enjoy also collaborating with other people to come up with new ideas. It's fun to sit around and listen to different people's thought processes and suggestions, and then everybody, kind of weave those together and come up with a great solution. So if I had to choose one or the other, I would probably say work, by myself.
Okay. Do you persuade people to do things they did not intend to do?
Do I persuade people of things they did not intend to do? I'm not really sure what you're getting at there. I don't know why, but I think that if somebody is not seeing the whole picture, in my opinion, and I'm wanting to broaden their view of something so that, because I really strongly believe it's going to benefit them, I may do some persuasion there.
Okay. In selling advertising, what is it that you have to know a lot about?
Oh, you have to know a lot about the product and what you're selling. You need to know it inside and out so that you're able to go to a customer and once you've found what their needs are, know how to apply that product to best suit their needs. So I think product knowledge is number one.
Okay. So how realistic is it these days to always do what you say you will do?
If you're not just, telling someone that you're going to do something to make them sign a contract or whatever, that's not going to work. But I think that when you make a commitment, you need to know before you make that commitment that you can follow through with what you say you're going to do. And I am one that believes that following through with a commitment is very important, even if it's, you know, personal commitment and I don't feel well and, you know, I'm going to let someone down by canceling. I do everything I can to just, you know, follow through with that commitment. And business-wise, it's the same thing.
Okay. When you're trying to figure out the needs of a client or prospect, what do you ask about early on in the conversation? I think early on just get to know them a little bit. If it's a, you know, a self-owned business, what brought them to that business and you know, what type of clientele is their target market, and, you know, have they thought of expanding, or not obviously they want to expand their market, but I think just getting to know them and then starting to get a feel for what they're trying to accomplish. Okay. So.
And what they've been doing, you know, find out what they have been doing, and anyway.
Okay. So we've gone through a lot of questions. I'm to my very last question. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to tell us that help us get to know you a little bit better?
Wow. I don't know. That was pretty thorough.
That's the big final conclusion.
Well, I have a very varied skill set, and I enjoy people. I am ethical. I'm a hard worker. I enjoy being, you know, I don't think I could sit at a desk 24/7. If I had to, I would, and I would make it work. But I like being more dynamic, being out and about. I have some short-term and long-term goals, and the next career that I select or the next employer that hires me, I'm going to make a long-term commitment. And, you know, I believe that whatever I put my mind to, I will accomplish. I've proven that to myself with some real challenges in my life, and I'm just ready to go. And I really think it would be fun. I worked for the Enterprise newspaper many, many years ago, and I really enjoyed that process and print advertising. And I may not be an expert at, you know, digital marketing, but I know enough. And that was one of the questions that I had. I've got a few questions, actually,
okay,
about the training process.
Okay. So you want to know what the training process is?
I do.
We don't have one. I'm just kidding.
Oh. Just kidding. I better get busy then, huh?
So, I mean, I could let Tara talk a little bit about that, because she'll be the one kind of walking through that, because it's different with the digital position than it is with our print reps, because they have to know, the print reps need to know both print and digital, whereas our digital reps really, really focus and really specialize on the digital.
Okay.
So I'll let Tara kind of chat at you for a second about that.
Okay. Well, one thing I can say is that as I look at working and representing the Standard Examiner, I'm very excited to get, you know, develop my knowledge base that I have right now and become an expert in that area, because it's new. It's not the way things were done when I was originally trained. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's fun. I really was having a lot of fun learning Twitter and email blasts and creating those and the text messaging. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited too. What we'll be doing, going through our training process, obviously is basics like learning our sales CRM, which we live in. We have a training program that will bring you up to speed on all of the trends, conversations, and everything for digital.
Okay.
So we'll spend the first couple weeks just doing training, conversations, stuff like that, before you would join myself and our campaign strategist out in the field, starting to meet some of the clients that we're currently working with and just seeing some of the things that we do.
Okay.
And then insofar as like when you and I had spoke before, we would be helping you with prospecting, networking, stuff like that, so that you are not just being thrown to the wolves. You'll actually get to go through and have a really strong understanding and be able to have a lot of fantastic conversation to really dive into the needs of each of the prospective clients that you're looking for. We will give you prospecting lists and all the tools to help you with that as well.
Great. Well, that excites me.
You would have to brush up on your Mac skills too, because all the digital team, we have Macs.
Okay.
So that is a training that you'll, and my campaign strategist just got a Mac too, so there are other learning.
Well, I know that they're a lot different. I learned that this morning when I was trying to work with my daughters, but in the meantime, before I find out whether I receive the position or not, I'll do some work on that.
Okay.
But that sounds exciting. I want something that's going to excite me. Will I begin, once I'm through all of the training, will I begin with some accounts so that I have something going on as I'm bringing in new accounts?
No, this, like when we spoke before, we would be building your own book of business.
Okay.
But starting off just for training and everything, we would have you with the team just so that you can see our processes in action. Like you said, it's easier to learn hands-on versus versus other just reading in a book.
Right. Okay, so how many reps are out there doing the digital marketing?
Just straight digital reps?
Yes.
Currently 2.
2. Okay, so with myself it would be 3.
We're hiring for 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There'll be a couple more joining you. We're trying to get everybody to come on about the same time.
Oh, great. Okay, that makes sense. Well, let me see. I can't think of any other questions at this point or any other comments that I can think of. That was a very thorough interview.
Yes, it is. And it's great because it helps us get to know your talents, where your strengths lie, really what you're really focused on and where you perform the best and in what circumstances you perform the best.
Okay.
So everybody goes through this, and then once we're done, we try to identify the top of the ones we've already narrowed it down to. At that point in time, what we do is we put you through with the third-party vendor who really does this, and they're super experts in it, and they will conduct one more call with the people that we take to the next step. It kind of follows along the same as different questions, but then we combine the two, and it gives us a really good profile. And then we know, from there who the best ones are to bring on board. And so we're trying to get through this as quick as we possibly can, but don't get discouraged if it takes a couple of weeks.
Okay, so you're thinking about 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably 2 weeks, maybe even sooner. I mean, we may sit down, at the end of this week and say, okay, we've talked to, 5 people this week. Who do we want to take through to that next level? And then we'll make that arrangements. And it could be as soon as next week that you get an invite from the other company that would then finish this up.
And will that come via email, or Tara, will you contact me?
It'll come through the email.
Okay. So just obviously I'm interviewing other places, but I'm very, very interested in this position. So my hope is, and it seems like everybody, it's taking longer than normal to get through that process. Is there anything I can do to prepare for this next step in the interview process?
No, just be yourself. Be who you
Okay.
are. That's really all it is. And we'll try to get through here as quick as we can. The thing is now we have to take the interview and transcribe it, and then once we have it all in writing, we can go through and do kind of the ratings that we do based on the responses, some of the keywords in the responses and whatnot, and then that gives us a good indication of, okay, yeah, this one, absolutely, we need to get them moved into the next level, and we'll do that as quickly as we possibly can.
Okay. Well, wonderful, and thank you so much, and I'll look forward to receiving that email.
All righty. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.